Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you for joining our ASTE 2026 AI panel sponsored by EduMatch. My name is Melody and I am the director for ASTE. And in 2 weeks, we're going to begin our annual ASTE conference at the Captain Cook in Anchorage. And we are so honored to offer this pre-ASTE virtual event as a way to focus on why having an Alaskan EdTech conference is so valuable. There is still time to sign up to attend, and we hope you will. I want to thank Dr. Sarah Thomas, CEO and founder of EduMatch, for believing in our organization to be a sponsor. I have known Dr. Thomas for a number of years, and she is a valuable leader in our worldwide educational community. She is an award-winning leader with the ASTE Making It Happen Award, Outstanding Leader Using Technology by the Maryland Society of Educational Technology. And I'm so excited for you to moderate this panel and hope it's just the first of many that we do together with our different organizations. Dr. Sarah Thomas, how are you doing? I think you're muted. Oh, there you go.
Uh-oh, were you able to hear me?
We didn't hear you, but we hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Well, I was just saying thank you so much. Very excited to be here, very honored. And I wanted to thank you so much for putting this together and for our collaboration. So I'm excited to chat with you today, or to chat with our panelists.
Me too. So I am going to drop off. I'm going to share our screen and we're going to get started.
All right, fantastic. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much to Melody, as well as to ASTE, as well as for our panelists and our viewers for attending. So we're about to jump into what we hope will be an engaging conversation around the use of artificial intelligence. We definitely want to encourage interactivity in the chat, so you could share your ahas or your own questions. So Melody, if I could ask you if you could go back to slide 2, please. All right. So as Melody said, this is in partnership between ASTE and EduMatch. So just really quickly, for anyone who does not know about EduMatch, that we do a variety of different things, including professional learning. We have a nonprofit arm. We also have published close to 100 books from educators in our field. And we're going to have a special gift at the end for everyone here. Speaking of that, so without any further ado, then I'm excited to bring on our amazing panel. So we're going to do some panel introductions really quickly, and y'all are in for a treat because we have some amazing panelists today, some internationally renowned experts and folks who have crafted policy and presented on this topic of artificial intelligence. So we have la creme de la creme, as my mom would say, here today. So I'm going to go ahead and first throw it over to Anthony White. If you could please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony White. I'm the ASTE board president. Very excited to be here with you all and with this panel. I also work for the Alaska Department of Education Early Development. I'm the computer science content specialist for the Innovation and Education Division of the department, and I have had the honor of helping develop an AI framework for the state, convening together educators and thought leaders throughout the state to develop this framework. And the framework is a living document. It is definitely not set in stone as this technology continues to advance at a very rapid pace. And I do feel that a lot of what we're going to learn at the ASTE conference and in this conversation alone is going to help us to continue to develop that that framework as much as we can. So very happy to be here with you all.
We are very happy to have you with us, and you are so right. This is evolving at a breakneck speed, so definitely remaining flexible. That's one of the best things that we can do as educators in this space. All right, so we are next going to go to Jornea Armant. So Jornea, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hey, it's your girl, Jornea, the savvy educator. Happy Sunday, everybody. I am so glad to be here. Right now, I am working as a senior program manager for Milestone Technologies in support of Google for Education. So all of the wonderful Google Gemini certifications and AI courses, I am working behind the scenes to make sure that those are readily available and encouraging the community to take those courses and certifications. My background in education started off as a second grade teacher. I've been an administrator. I've worked as an instructional coach. That's where my heart is, coaching educators. And then I kind of transitioned into educational technology as an instructional technology specialist for the State Department of Education in Alabama. And from there, I started working at a little startup called Flipgrid. You may have heard of it. Shout out to some of my Flipgrid family that's here watching right now. And from there, worked at Microsoft on not only Microsoft Flip, but also Copilot efforts. And so I'm going to try to bring in my experience in all those phases of education to really ground us in what I think is important. These conversations, which needs community. So this is a wonderful community with ASTE as well as EduMatch. So please be active in the chat. If you have insights and questions, please pop those in there. That'll also make this conversation so much better. So glad to be here.
Oh, and we are so glad that you are here. So thank you so much, Jornea. This is great to have you on here, and also great to have Brandie Wright. So Brandie, if you could please introduce yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning for those that are in the morning time zone. So my name is Brandie Wright. I am Brandie, and I do a couple of different things. I wear a few different hats. However, I will say that my journey came from like the technical side, right? The educational technology side, where I was a district technology coordinator for a larger school district in Virginia. And then while I was doing that work, I realized the importance of having an instructional foundation as part of my training, as part of my lens. And so I decided to make this huge career upgrade. Some people might think I was crazy for doing this in my 40s, but I actually went into the classroom in my mid 40s. And so I'm now a classroom teacher at a little micro school. We call it a micro school. We are few in numbers, but we are big in heart and in impact, right? So I teach at Yellowhab, which is a micro school in Norfolk, Virginia. However, I also do a lot of work with ASTE on the AI explorations course and some of the generation AI work that we've been doing. And so just really excited to connect with this larger audience, with the ASTE like family. So when Sarah invited me to do this, I thought, what a wonderful, connection. So Sarah was one of the first people I met at ASTE, and we have been learning together ever since. And so the lens that I bring to you guys, honestly, is always the lens through the learner. Whoever that learner may be. I love being the learner. And so many times my reflections or my response is really going to be from that. So it's not about the technology, but it's about the impact and the connection and the community. So thank you for having me.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Love that. And I love that you have the heart of a learner. So that's amazing. Super glad that each of you are here. So Melody did a great job introducing me, but just to give you a little bit more background on me, this is my 21st year in education, and I've taught everything from 1st to 12th grade, all the way in that span, as well as in the Masters of Ed Tech program and in central office for more than a decade. So I am also founder, CEO of an organization called EduMatch. A little bit about that on the next slide. We're not going to stay too focused on that because I know that y'all are anxious to hear the great answers of the panelists. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about EduMatch. We partner with organizations such as Adobe and Google, and we work with schools and districts. We've worked with over 100 districts at this point, and we provided professional learning on topics like AI. Many people are looking for answers. So just to kind of give you context how this came to be, there's a lot of information out there about artificial intelligence. Not all of it is good, but our experts on panel today are going to help you cut through the fluff. We're going to keep it real for y'all today. That is our mission and our goal. So we're going to feature real questions from real schools and districts like yours and get some real answers. So just like they say, let's get ready to rumble. So we're going to get into our very first question. So our very first question is kind of looking at a scope and sequence. So what might a realistic pre-K to 12 progression look like? And what evidence would show that students are able to think critically with AI? So panelists, just let me know in the chat if you would like to jump in on that one. Don't be shy. All right, great. Let's go first to Brandie.
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump right in. That word progression, honestly, it may sound real formal. And so I know people have, different district progressions, right? You might think of a progression that's been posted public facing, right? What does this 3 to 5 year plan look like, right? But I would like to just bring it down just a little bit, right? So my progression is, when it comes to the students and showing that they can think critically, is where is home base? So home base is the classroom when it comes to them. Like, for, even though we would love for it to be the family, but the reality is that many times ground zero for them, how they think around AI, is at school. So that progression looks like, how are we introducing this to them in a real scenario, not what they see in media, not what they see in the games that they play, not what they see, in different areas, but what does this really look like? How can you use AI to, when it comes to your questions, and then causing you to ask more questions? How does it cause you to look at something and weigh it? Is it real or is it not? There's nothing wrong with asking questions, right? I met someone a few weeks ago, and they said that when their kid was in preschool, the teacher said, "Your kid is asking too many questions. This is a problem." That's not a problem. We want them to ask the questions. So what does the progression look like? Is that you would seek out the answers to your questions, but also ask more questions. So as you ask more questions, you're going to learn more. One of my really strong teachers told me that the actual power is in your questions. So I would love to see the progression in, to see how they begin to ask the questions to AI, or whatever it is that they're researching, to the source, so that it develops their critical thinking, so that it develops their problem solving skills, so that it actually develops their creativity. So I would say that the progression, not so much in stages, but just to see that they're actually moving from ground zero to the next level, with the assistance.
I love that,
I add
Brandie.
that. Yes. So let's go next to Jornea.
Yes, I love that framing. Working at the Alabama State Department of Ed, I remember like when the computer science standards came out, and we started talking about those progressions across the board. And I think many states right now are thinking right now about the progressions when it comes to AI. Being a former second grade teacher, the foundations are highly important. And I think for our littlest learners, even pre-K students, just being aware of what is out there, the technologies that they are naturally using, right? I'm just so blown away that like a 2-year-old can navigate, a tech device, but we need to start having conversations with them, and we build that through their curiosity, right? Curiosity will lead to those questions being asked. Curiosity will lead to them wondering, like, what next? What could they create? I'm going to give a shout out to an educator right now. His name is Brian Lopez. He's in California. And this past January, I attended FETC, and he was sharing about the wonderful things he's doing with his students in AI. And once again, it starts off with those questions. How can we make something better? What questions can we ask to get a different result? And really understanding how those technologies are helping them to learn, right? I think for our littlest learners as well, when they are engaged in these AI powered tools, and for most of them, it's going to be more like adaptive like programs or creative programs. It's building those foundational skills with literacy along with their technology skills as well. So maybe they are the ones that's identifying, okay, this is something that was generated by AI, and this is something that might have been human created, right? But once again, they have to be able to ask those questions to get to that directed state with AI. Then as they progress, that's where they're going to start utilizing AI a little bit more to generate information, content, etc. But it should be more so, to me, in a collaborative role. And I think the role is going to be highly important for students at this age to understand how AI can support their learning. It doesn't replace what they are doing. It will be almost kind of like their thinking partner, just like another student in the classroom or just like a teacher in the classroom. And so giving students frameworks and once again, like guardrails too, of when and why and how to utilize technology, but also have that reflection piece as a huge part for our learners at that phase to kind of understand, what did you learn from this process? Because learning is about the process, not the output that they're getting, right? So that's going to be highly important. And then for our older learners, hopefully we are seeing them, creating, but also analyzing and auditing what they are receiving, maybe for bias or ethical concerns. We want them to really be able to think critically about how they're utilizing this technology and the outputs that they are getting, and they are the ones that are in control and making the choices for the next steps. So to kind of sum it up, I would say, like, the earlier students, it's more kind of like directed with AI, whereas like, middle-aged students, they are really thinking critically and how AI can support them in their learning. And our older students, hopefully they are the ones that are super empowered in utilizing these tools to change the world.
Absolutely. Love that. Love your insights thus far. All right. Anthony?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. Everything that's been shared really hits on what I've been thinking about a potential progression for the use of artificial intelligence in K-12 schools. I think a realistic progression would move from awareness to collaboration to creation. Enabling creative expression is our ultimate ability as human beings and what we are capable of sharing out with the world and advancing our knowledge. I think, breaking it up into the different grade levels of early elementary or elementary school to middle school to high school, you could have various progressions, and you're not limited to those particular grade ranges. For example, in elementary school, you would help the students understand what is AI generated versus what is human generated. What are we creating as humans? Or what are we creating as humans with the support of AI, and how is that being changed? I think that ability to be able to identify what is computer generated versus human made is an essential basic digital citizenship skill. Really, really important in this day and age, as we see lots and lots of content being created on social media platforms, on major news networks, and movies. And we question and wonder, what is reality anymore? It's almost as if we live in a post-reality society, which is kind of scary to think of. So allowing students the opportunity to critically analyze those things, and what do you do with that information once you know if it is human made or if it is made by a computer, and what are the reasons behind it? Why would someone want to make that? What are the purposes behind it? In middle school, we could then shift to AI as a kind of co-pilot. Look, kids were using AI in a sense before similar technologies, aka Google, in the past to find information. Before that, when we were in school, it was going to the library and looking up encyclopedia. This is information someone else has already generated and created, and we're learning how to critically analyze that information. So students being able to understand how to use AI to brainstorm or for potential feedback, and feeding off of what they were learning in elementary school is understanding how AI could be wrong, how that information can be misleading, or the information could have a certain bias to it that may not represent all thoughts and beliefs and backgrounds and all those things, and how to be able to critically analyze the information that AI is putting out. And then in high school would be fluency and ethics, really delving into the ability to create prompts, critique outputs, really critique the information, and understand the bias and architecture behind the tools that folks are using. You know, students should not necessarily be using it to turn in a final essay, but I would argue the point of why are they writing an essay in the first place? Why? And the student is going to unload some cognitive work in that if they don't see the value in the educational experience. So it's a tool, just like any other tool out there, just like the internet that we had used before, but it's faster. Right. So how could we enable students or encourage students to use AI in a way that allows them to creatively express their knowledge and be able to critically analyze information?
Mm. I love that. All of those real world examples that students are going to be needing to navigate through. That is very, very important. So, love what each of you shared. Thank you so much. So, Melody is highlighting a comment that came through that was really cool to see. This is such an interesting question since those of us in high school don't have the benefit of a K-12 progression. We're jumping into the deep end of the pool. And that is so true. You know, there are different entry points for everyone, regardless of where you are, unless you're looking like holistically at a district level. But they all kind of intertwine and scaffold upon one another. So I love everything that the panelists said about how this progression may work. So we're going to shift gears just for the interest of time. We have two questions that kind of piggyback off of each other. So in our next question, it was going to deal mainly with guardrails for responsible AI usage in schools and the communication around those. But the third question that we had in mind was about these guardrails and how to balance that with innovation. So we have time for approximately one more question. So I would love to get your take as panelists on how you feel that we can be responsible while we are integrating this AI, while we're integrating artificial intelligence into our curriculum, as well as straddle the line between safeguards and innovation. So who would like to go first on this question? All right, Jornea.
All right. So first, we gotta put humans first. Keep the human in the loop or the teacher in the loop. So when we think about these guardrails, we have to have, once again, just the people who are utilizing these tools in the forefront of the decision making. A lot of times what I've seen in the past is districts determine, let's say, the AI policy, but there's not educators on a team to develop that policy. So then there's gaps in between what districts are putting out, what's happening in the classroom. And so the one thing I will encourage is for districts, if you have not already developed your AI policy, get various perspectives, in play at the table to talk about what your district AI policy is going to be. The second thing that I think is just super important is to develop norms. So even down to the classroom, how are we going to leverage AI in our learning spaces? You can't fault someone for doing something if you haven't developed what that norm is to utilize AI. So, for example, in a classroom whose purpose is to learn how to become, maybe fluent writers, etc., right? The goal is not to produce X number of essays in that course, is to become a better writer. So you may have norms that align with the goals for that course that might look different than another teacher's class who might leverage AI for other purposes in that coursework. So I think, once again, you will have some district directives based upon multiple input. But for the individual teachers and courses that they're teaching, they also have to think critically about norms that will set the tone for their classroom of how AI would be utilized. So that's two things that I'm going to say, and then I'll pass it on to the next person.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. We're going to go next to Anthony.
Yeah, so the safeguards versus innovation, I think a sandbox approach is really helpful. Find a few educators and their classrooms who, as designated safe zones for innovation, and allow them to pilot the new tools with looser restrictions, but good monitoring as a part of that. So you can gather data on what works without exposing the whole district to the potential risk on that. And I think the educators who really want to get involved with that could really go far with the possibilities. And along those lines, I think the policies that say no, cut off your nose to spite your face, that really should be a yes if policy, right? Yes, you can use generative image tools if you use the district approved account that will filter certain content. Really encourage educators and students to use that. And, you know, if you're having students generate images for whatever presentation that they're giving, that is awesome. But don't throw away the possibility of creative expression in more traditional methods with students. So have those opportunities available for those students who are artists, the students who want to draw, who want to take pictures, who may want to do mixed media sort of deal that combines artificial intelligence with something that they create. And that brings me into the really important idea, which was discussed before, of the human AI human interface. The human should always start the process, right? Human input is the start of the process. Think of it like a human sandwich, except we're not going to eat it. Context, personal experience. Then at the end is the critique and the synthesis of the information. And in the middle is the AI, which is kind of helping handle the messy middle part. So if students are creating a presentation to kind of document what they are learning, that the AI could kind of help them with the process, but ultimately they're in charge of what is presented at the end. And they could take the information from AI and toss it in the trash and be like, nope, I do not like that. I've done that many times myself, but it helps get those creative juices flowing. I do think bringing back oral defense for students is pretty important. That's an authentic task. They may not have access to AI while they do kind of a viva voce experience where they explain their reasoning, proving that they know the material better than the input has been written out by AI. So they really have to synthesize that information. Writing is always key, and problem solving. Authentic problem solving opportunities is so essential. And my gosh, I wish we could have more opportunities for students to create solutions to problems that are in their community, problems that exist around them that are affecting their families and their communities. And this technology is here. And for the most part, it is free for them to pretty much do whatever it is that they want to do with the support of artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, let's kick it over to Brandie.
Thank you. So what a great tee up from the other panelists. So I will say that the first part I want to start with is the two things that are really necessary are clarity and connection. So we started off talking about the importance of creating norms and community agreements, right? And who's a part of those community agreements and those norms? Who are the, invested people? Who are the stakeholders? Everyone is a stakeholder. So ensuring that with clarity, you are communicating whatever the norms are and the expectations are. So, and again, I love what Anthony said. He said, yes, if. So yes, if. So that's clarity. This is clear. Yes, you can do this if you do that, right? You are making, and then you're making the connections. So to make the connection between where you are and where you're going. What is the connection on why? The connection is how, right? So how are you using AI and why? Again, and I love what Anthony said, the bringing back oral, defense. So that's actually what I plan on doing for this upcoming semester for my 7th and 8th graders. I am shifting my class into a debate. So now it's going to be around debate. And each week we will be debating a particular term around technology, because that's our term theme. So what they're going to have to do is, you may use AI, but then I need you to debate against that and figure out, so how do you know what's real and what's not? Where are the loopholes? Where is the cultural, relevancy, right? Where's the bias, like what we said earlier? So because we know that it's there. We know that there are some things there that aren't true. There's some great things. So again, with clarity, we want to communicate to our learners. With clarity, we want to, the leadership needs to communicate to the community with clarity, right? The leadership, the district leadership, the state leadership. I love how, these states are coming up with what does the state say? What does the Department of Education at the state level say about the use of AI in education? So, and when that comes with clarity, what you'll see is innovation, because with clarity, it opens it up for innovation. You don't feel like this is a no automatically. The clarity opens up the mode for communication, innovation, for people to really push past their boundaries, for them to feel like, well, no, this is actually a benefit. This is not something that's coming down that's going to hinder the learning. This is not going to hinder the classroom, environment. This is not going to hinder creativity, but it's actually going to open it up. So I truly do believe that if these things are communicated with clarity and you make the connection, we know for sure that when a student feels connected to whatever it is that you're teaching, they'll be motivated to do it. You won't have to chase them down. You won't have to tell them what they can and what they cannot do, because they're connected to the purpose. So again, clarity and connection.
I love that. And with EduMatch, we're huge fans of connections. So that is an amazing way to round us out. So before we go, just wanted to throw it back to y'all one last time, just for any final words that you have. And as well, if you could share how folks can stay connected with you, because you all three of you are phenomenal. And I'm sure that people want to continue learning and growing with you. So let's go first to Jornea.
All right. I guess my final words to leave everyone is to remember that innovation should always protect the learning process. So there's a science behind why we learn. So if the innovation is going to replace something, we're missing the mark there, right? So definitely think about that, have that in the back of your mind. And as our other panelists shared about changing the types of ways that we are asking students to show their learning or their assessments, et cetera, think about how you can leverage AI for those scaffolding supports to get students to be able to master, knowledge and skills in a way that maybe they could not have beforehand, or make it more possible for many of our students. You can stay connected with me on all the socials. I'm on LinkedIn with Jornea Armant, and also on Facebook, on Instagram, on X as Savvy Educator. I would love to continue the conversation. This time was just so short. I wish we had more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jornea. All right. Next up, Anthony, any last words from you and how to stay connected?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is so much out there with this technology, and it truly is moving at breakneck speed, and it's hard to keep up. So just try what you can, try a little bit, dip your feet in the water. Don't try and assume that you could do all of it. Some of those things that are really key is the ability to know how to prompt effectively, to be able to get out what you need from the AI. And then if you're not getting the results that you want or that you need, that it's okay to say that this output is garbage and you could just throw it away and go the old route of just writing it down or talking with someone else or having a conversation with other educators like we are today. And then I think the other key is just knowing when not to use artificial intelligence. And I know educators think about this all the time, is that personal identifiable information, the PII, and how important it is not to feed that into the system that just kind of keeps regurgitating the same stuff. And that's really important. And then cultural information. I mean, I think about this a lot in Alaska and how we would love to have Alaska Native populations in the state find ways to effectively and innovatively utilize artificial intelligence. But is there a want and need, and do they want to feed their information into this system? And I would say a lot of people would say, no, I do not. That is our information. So just finding ways to make it unique to whatever population it is. And yeah, just have fun with it. Allow creativity. Like that is the pin of all my philosophy in education is creative expression. Without that, what are we as human beings? You can get a hold of me on LinkedIn, I guess. I'm not really like I'm not a tech savvy when it comes to social media. But if you do want to find me in person, I'll be at ASTE in 2 weeks. But you could also find us on our Facebook page. We have a group that we coordinate, and yeah, would just love to stay connected with you all. Anthony.white@aste.org if you want to shoot me an email. However you want to get a hold of me. And thank you all so much for putting this together.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That is great. All right. And last and certainly not least, we are kicking it over to Brandie for any closing thoughts, as well as how to stay connected.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much, Sarah and EduMatch and ASTE for allowing me to be on this panel. You know, one of the questions that we didn't get to is how I want to end, which is how do we know if AI is being done well? And I'll tell you, I truly believe that we know when it's being done well when we don't see it. Right. So when we don't see it because it has now uncovered the real learner, I love it when a student or a learner can use AI to really reveal who they are, because they have been hiding behind this mask. They've been hiding behind insecurities. They've been hiding behind the labels of learning challenges, reading challenges. I can't do this. I can't do that. So when AI is actually the one that reveals the true learner, that's when it's being done well. I believe that when AI really allows someone, their voice to be heard, when the silent is no longer silent, that they're actually being heard loud and clear, that's when it's being done well. So you can get a hold of me on LinkedIn under I am Brandie. I'm sure they'll drop the link, or on Instagram. I'm at Live and Move. I'll be honest, I'm probably more active on LinkedIn than any of the other ones, but you can also find me at ASTE in Orlando. If you guys come in June, I will definitely be there live in full effect. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I wanted to thank you all again for your amazing work. Mel, if we could bring up the slideshow one more time. I just wanted to invite everyone to continue the conversation. Let's keep the conversation going. We're going to have a webinar. EduMatch will be having a webinar on February 19th. So it'll be at 12 o'clock Eastern time, which I believe is 8 a.m. So it might be a little early for y'all in Alaska time. However, we would love to have you there if you are awake and ready to go, and or if you want to just sign up and grab the recording. So I'll drop a comment in the chat, but you can sign up for this conversation. So as many of our panelists touched upon, then we always want to keep the human in the loop when it comes to artificial intelligence. So this webinar will be all about that. And in the webinar, it's going to be a practical roadmap, for school and district leaders to set AI direction, reduce risk, and build community trust, among many other things. So it's definitely free. So just sign up. And just FYI, we're on a new platform. So the confirmation email may not come just yet, but we'll circle back and make sure that you're sent the confirmation email. But once you sign up, then you'll be able to add it to your Google Calendar, and you'll have the link and everything there. So let me see. I think that my thing bounced back, so my apologies for that. But dropping it in the chat one last time. Okay. All right. It didn't come through. However, it's right there on the screen for you all. So edumatchers.org/webinar-registration. So hope to see you there. In addition, just wanted to thank everyone one more time. So if we could please go to the next slide. Thank you so much. So wanted to thank each of our panelists. It was such an honor to learn alongside of each of you. Wanted to thank ASTE. I wanted to thank Melody for her insight and the conversation and being a thought partner in this space. And wanted to thank all of you for being here and participating in this discussion, which we hope that you have found helpful. So one last thing on the next slide, if you could please either scan the QR code or go to the website talk.ac/EduMatch and just enter code ASTE when prompted. And then what that will do once you fill out the evaluation, then it is going to unlock a free gift to each of you, which is a PDF copy of our last published book thus far. We do an anthology every year, Snapshot of Education, where educators just like you have posted about different topics, including artificial intelligence, including equity, including leadership, some great topics in there. So once you fill out that evaluation, then you will have a copy of EduSnap. And if you want to stay connected, our very last slide is just how to get a hold of us at EduMatch, as well as to sign up for ASTE. So wanted to thank you all so much for being here today, and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. All right, take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a